Hello. So today is kind of a nice video. We're talking about living or traveling in a high altitude desert.
There are some things to think about.
So we live in Arequipa, which is at a fairly high elevation of about 2,300 meters, which is almost 8,000 feet.
Yep.
So altitude is a big part in living here.
Absolutely.
And especially when people travel here.
Luckily, there are lots of local remedies.
Exactly. So coca leaves or tea is something that locals kind of swear by for giving you more energy and also fighting any altitude sickness that may or may not happen.
Things like nausea, being fatigued.
Yep. Also, if you're training for like marathons or something,
This is the place to be.
man.
Yeah.
When I go back to Wisconsin, I feel like I'm Superman because I just feel like I can kick some ass.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But there are a few bad things.
Yeah, that comes with a big caveat. So if you are maybe a little older, or you have some if you have any propensity for stroke, be careful. There are a few things that you should probably be aware of when you travel to a high altitude place, especially if you're spending a lot of time, or if you're planning on moving here. So your body actually undergoes a lot of processes to counteract or adapt to high altitude, and one of them is creates a lot of red blood cells, and so your blood becomes a little thicker. So the chance of stroke is a little bit higher when you go to high altitude. So it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah. So when people talked about seasons here when we first got here, coming from Wisconsin, we were like,
A big laugh. A big laugh.
But there are some marked differences.
For sure.
So winter is typically windier and drier.
Yep.
And as we're already in a desert, that can be a little extreme.
Yeah.
And then summer has kind of half cloudy days, at least here in Arequipa.
Right.
And very little rain.
Yeah.
Although the locals think it's a lot.
The locals will tell you it's a torrential downpour, but it's light rain, maybe, I don't know, 10 days a month for about 3 months a year.
Yep. So with all the dryness, there's an adjustment period if you're traveling through or when you live here.
Right.
Everyone seems to get like a weird kind of like a scratchy throat and like a weird dichotomy of like runny but dry nose.
Right.
And so it takes a while to kind of surpass that, where your body, I think, gets used to it.
Right. Right.
But as Clint mentioned, there's some remedies.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is drink, and even when I'm not having issues, there's an herbal tea that is made here called emoliente.
Yep.
It is so good. It's
tasty.
got all kinds of herbs, like it's got toasted barley and flax seeds and is it horsetail, that herb? Those are like the main ingredients, but then people add all kinds of shit. My favorite lady adds maca and aloe water or like juice. And then some people add like alfalfa to get a more earthy taste. But it's really good, and a little honey usually for sweetness, and also is good for your throat.
Right. The bottom line is it's really good for your throat, and it tastes really good.
All kinds of superfoods like maca and flax, so it's good.
Yep. The other thing that's really good for that is hot drinks. Tea is obviously is your best friend.
Yeah.
I don't know about coffee, but definitely tea.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely tea. We're drinking tea all the time here.
Yep. So here in Arequipa, and I'm assuming any high-altitude desert.
Most deserts.
Dust.
Oh, man.
I hate it.
Oh, man. It is a struggle. We live in a little bit of an older apartment building, and there's just no escape. There's no way to seal yourself off from it. There's no protection. It's just everywhere. It gets in everything. It smells.
You got to be careful for your electronics.
Right.
You got to clean a lot.
Right.
So that's a big thing that I was not anticipating when we moved here.
A consistent struggle.
Yeah. So another thing that we're pretty conscious of is trying to conserve as much water as we can.
Yep.
So we do like a faux gray water system right now, really we're just trying to conserve water.
Right.
And we use that to like water our plants and things like that.
Right, right.
But we're hoping to make an actual gray water system
Yep.
once we get into a different place.
Hopefully we'll have a story to tell you about that. But otherwise, under normal circumstances, being very conscious about our water use, trying to reduce it as much as possible. If there's leakage anywhere, we're trying to recover that.
Yeah.
It's very important for us living in a water scarce region to be very careful.
Yeah. So another thing that was different for me was keeping plants alive.
Yeah.
So in Wisconsin, taking care of plants is totally different.
Oh, yeah.
I was constantly overwatering all my plants and killing them. And now you have to overwater. Even our succulents and cacti, you have to water them like every 3 days.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting. And also, the interesting thing I found out is my succulents can't even be in direct sunlight for a full day.
Yeah, the sun, obviously the higher in altitude you go, less atmosphere there is between you and the sun, and so it's really, really intense sun.
Yeah, so since I moved my plants out of 24-hour sun and I water them a lot, they've been doing a lot better.
Well, like 10-hour sun, we'll say.
Yeah. There's a lot of temperature differences as well. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so another artifact of being at high altitude is in the sun, it's blazing hot, and in the shade, it's pretty cold. So it's like being on the moon. And so it's important to be very conscious of when you're in the sun, especially if you have fair skin like us, to be protecting yourself in some way. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But at night, the temperature difference between day and night can be pretty extreme, especially in the winter. And so, we're talking about a difference of maybe 30 degrees Fahrenheit between night and day.
But with no humidity, it feels different.
Right, it definitely does feel different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With the dry weather.
Yeah, there are things you should do to be taking care of yourself.
Oh my gosh.
The dry weather and the intense sun.
So, I don't know. And I typically have dry skin anyway, so maybe this is a little high maintenance for some people, and that's fine. But this is what I like. So, I have my favorite lotions. Aveeno is my favorite. I bring it back from the States every time I go. We did find a really nice local natural lotion, which is very good.
Yeah, we'll try to link their Facebook below.
Yeah. But moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. For real. My favorite face day moisturizer also has SPF in it. That's another thing. SPF, because you're going to just toast.
It does not take long and you'll get burned in the sun.
Another thing I swear by is Burt's Bees Lemon Butter Cuticle Cream. Sounds ridiculous, but seriously, it's saved my cuticles and my fingers in general. Because,
back of your hands.
Yeah, again, I have really dry skin in general anyway, and so this is just awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also, again, because I have dry eyes on a normal course of action, eye drops. These are my favorite eye drops. They're the Roto Cools, and they have menthol in them, and it feels so nice. So I would certainly recommend keeping yourself, your body, hydrated, along with obviously drinking water.
And did we mention SPF?
Yeah, SPF.
Use it.
And that kind of goes into the next.
Yeah, one thing that I've been really vigilant about is a hat, a wide-brimmed hat, protecting your face, your ears, back of your neck, and long-sleeve shirts. So if you're going out for a walk or you're going to the store or whatever, I hardly ever leave the house without my hat. And long sleeves for your arms and the back of your hands if you get lucky, because the sun is seriously extreme.
Oh, and sunglasses.
And of course, protecting your eyes.
Yeah.
Get sunglasses with UV protection.
Yeah.
It is just insanely bright here. When I leave Arequipa and come back, I'm always shocked at how bright it is. It's just amazing.
And perhaps the most important thing.
Oh, definitely the most important thing.
This dry weather with no humidity is amazing for books. If you're new to our channel or if you don't know us, we love books.
Like books, weren't you?
We brought our library with us when we moved here, and this is a great place for books.
Absolutely. So
as long as you keep the dust and the sun away.
Right. So very little humidity, mixed with not a lot of variation in temperature over the year, season to season. It's a great environment for storing books and keeping them in good condition.
Yep. And in general, it's just gorgeous here.
Man, every single day practically, I wake up and it's just like, another beautiful day. It's gorgeous. It's about 75 Fahrenheit. Little breeze, crystal clear out today. There's no clouds. Hardly ever any clouds. At night, the stars are out. I love tracking the planets.
The stars are so clear here. I mean, I grew up in rural Wisconsin where the night sky was certainly a thing.
Sure.
Much clearer than in the city
Sure.
where we eventually lived.
Right.
But
this is nothing.
This is...
Or that was nothing
Yeah,
compared to this.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And I am always being conscious to trying to not take it for granted because it's so beautiful.
Yeah. But that's kind of all we thought we'd compile. So if you have any questions about living or traveling in a high altitude desert, let us know.
Comments.
We're more than happy to give any advice, such
Absolutely.
as it is.
Absolutely.
But it's a great place, and I hope someday you can travel through Arequipa because it's gorgeous. So maybe we'll see you around.